Okay, so I'm Matthew Hockenberry. Leo's sitting over there, though, just so you know he's here if you want to ask him some questions. But I'm going to be talking about Sourcemap, which is sort of a software project that we've been working on for about a year, trying to understand supply chains. And we call it open supply chains because we want to sort of open up this information, make it a little more transparent so we understand what's going on. You know, it's great that we got these little bottles of water because it's a nice little visual prop. So, you know, we got some Poland Springs water. I don't want to sell the brand too hard. But the nice thing about it is it actually does say where it is sourced, and one of the springs it's sourced from is actually Poland Springs. It's on the water bottle. But I'm looking out and I see a lot of laptops, not as many as I expected to see, but a lot of laptops sitting out in the audience. But I bet you don't know where those come from. I mean, there's no sort of laptop spring where you just pick up laptops fully formed from the earth. But, you know, it's actually a really complex thing where your laptop comes from. So this is a supply chain of a typical laptop computer. And the amazing part about looking at this is not how complicated it is or all the materials that go into your laptop. It's the fact that this information is so hard to get. You know, we don't have this information as consumers. A lot of businesses that are involved with laptop laptop manufacture, they don't necessarily have this complete piece of information. And the interesting thing about starting to explore supply chains is you start to become appreciative of the different kinds of materials that go into the products that you're using. And so we have things like this, which is a beautiful sort of mining operation, if you want to say that, to mine tin in Indonesia. So if you have a laptop out now, it has some tin in it, there's a good chance the tin came from a mine quite like this one in Indonesia. But understanding that, knowing that sort of changes how we look at these things which we view as sort of commodities. So that's the first little mini story I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you 3 mini stories, and I'm not going to get darted. So Sourcemap is essentially a calculator, right? We want to do what is called life cycle assessment, allow people to sort of start accounting for what goes into products, foods, even trips are things that we're dealing with in Sourcemap right now. And once we sort of have people enter this into Sourcemap, we can do different kinds of accounting. We can do things like carbon accounting, we can do sort of monetary accounting, or we can just sort of understand the supply chain and the sort of stories associated with each part in that supply chain. So this is my big text slide, first of 2, but you know, it has some of the stuff we're trying to do. But it basically comes down to supply chain transparency in a collaborative web-based system that allows different people to tackle a problem that it's really unlikely one person has the answer to. So I'm going to show you some screenshots of the not yet but almost released next iteration of Sourcemap. So if you go to sourcemap.org, the site does not look like this quite yet, but it will in a few days, I promise. So this is kind of an interesting story for a consumer perspective. So here someone comes in, they want to map something that they own. In this case, a student in a class that my colleague Leonardo teaches mapped this IKEA Salden All-Sart bed, which is an IKEA bed, right? So this student actually went out, sort of found some information about where IKEA sources different woods from, sort of constructed the map. They now have a perspective about all the different ingredients that goes into the IKEA product that they purchased, right? They can take a look at the different parts like cotton or galvanized steel that go into the IKEA product. And now anyone who searches for an IKEA All-Sart bed knows this is the supply chain, these are the ingredients, this is where they come from. This is a product that's shared across several continents. We can do things like understand a little more sophisticated accounting. We can visualize this information in different ways. The last story I want to tell you is sort of this story about culture and social understanding. So this is, we've been doing a lot of field work. This is brewer number 7, actually, on the map here, who, these are all the breweries in the Highlands and Islands of Scotland. And right now they ship all of their beer down to the north of England to have it bottled. But because of using a tool like Sourcemap to sort of understand this large social supply chain problem, this person was able to make a fairly successful argument for a kind of transition. So not only does this save things like carbon, but it also, you know, showcases a local argument for a community or for a culture. So I'll skip that last slide so I don't get darted. And I'm Matthew Hockenberry, but we're building a large team and we're looking for lots of different kinds of volunteers to help out, so thank you.